Creator and sustainer of all things and all people. You are the source of all wisdom and light. Enlighten our minds to receive your guidance, so that you may lead us into true wisdom. May all that we say and do in the service of this county, whether as elected member or as officer, be in accordance with your will and for the good of your people. Amen. Thank you. Dear. Evacuation procedure. In the event of having to evacuate the council chamber, would everyone leave by one of the two exits at the rear of the chamber? Officers will be on hand to assist with any people with disabilities. Mobile phones. May I ask all people also to have mobile phones with them to ensure that they're switched off so they do not disturb the meeting? Yep, done. It's always well worth doing that one. Agenda item 1, to elect a chairman. So I invite nominations.
Chairman, it gives me great honour to have the opportunity to nominate Joe Orson and speak on behalf of the Conservative group in support of our nomination of Joe as Chairman of the County Council for the forthcoming year. Joe was first elected in 2005 to represent the Ashfordby division, which became the Melton Wolds division in 2017. Joe's in his 5th term, so he's had plenty of experience here, and it's something which he should be proud of. Joe was a Cabinet Support Member from 2007 to 2010 when he became Cabinet Lead Member for Community Safety. He held this position until 2016, and he was also our first Chairman of the Leicestershire and Rutland Police and Crime Panel. Joe is also a member of Melton Borough Council and was their leader from 2017 till 2023. Now, Joe and his family have a lot of politics in his blood. His family have represented Old Dolby on the Rural District Council in what is now Melton Borough Council for all but 16 of the last 150 years. So there's always been an Orson in Melton Mowbray. Joe's father actually served on the County Council for 45 years. During his year as chairman, Joe will be supported by his partner Sharon, who is here today. And together I know they will make a great civic team, and I think there's no better person the Conservative group could pick but Joe. I move, Chairman.
Thank you. Mrs Taylor.
Thank you, Mr Chairman. I'm very happy to second Joe's nomination.
Very much. So the motion is that Mr Joe Orson be elected chairman for the period until the next annual meeting of the council. There may be one or two people want to make a speech. Do you want to say anything? You two? No? No? Okay. Just waiting for... Do we have to put it? Yeah? Everyone? Can we have hands raised, please, for those in favour? Oh. She's counting. Good. Thank you very much. Invite Mr Orson, please, to join me and the Chief Executive to make the declaration of acceptance of office.
I, Joseph Theobald Orson of Orchard View, 7A Church Lane, Old Dolby, in the County of Leicestershire, having been elected to the office of Chairman of Leicestershire County Council, do hereby declare that I take the said office upon myself and will duly and faithfully fulfil the duties thereof according to the best of my judgment and ability. I undertake to be guided by the County Council's Code of Conduct for elected members in the performance of my functions in that office, dated this day, 15th of May 2024. got to shake hands. Just found out we've got to shake hands. Yeah. Thank you very much, Kevin. First of all, I would like to offer my sincerest thanks to members of the County Council for electing me as the 48th Chairman of Leicestershire County Council. It is a tremendous honour to have this opportunity to act as first citizen of the County of Leicestershire, and it is one I intend to embrace wholeheartedly in order to continue the good work of my predecessor. I would like to offer thanks to Kevin for his service as Chairman of the County Council over the last 2 years, and it gives me great pleasure to take this opportunity to acknowledge the service that he has given to the County Council and our wider Leicestershire community during his term of office. As I look ahead to my own term of office as Chairman, I will do whatever I can to enhance the civic life of the county, and I will endeavour to uphold the dignity of this civic office and the respect it enjoys throughout Leicestershire. I am pleased to say that I will be supported in my year of office by my other half, Sharon. I am also looking forward to working with Richard Shepherd. Hopefully, Council will approve his appointment later in the meeting, who will serve as Vice Chair during the ensuing year. And so, from your incoming Chairman, thank you for your support, and I look forward to working with you all in this chamber and beyond. Thank you. So we move on to agenda item. Oh. So this is to present Kevin with his past chair's medal. So, Kevin, over to you.
Thank you. Gosh, thank you very much. I said when taking on this role on the 18th of May 2022 that I would like to offer my sincerest thanks to members of the County Council for electing me as the 47th Chairman of the Leicestershire County Council. Little did I know then that I would have the privilege of being first citizen for the County of Leicestershire for 2 years. It's been a tremendous honour to have this opportunity, and it's one I embraced wholeheartedly in order to continue the good work of all my predecessors. I would like to thank Dan Harrison for his advice as Vice Chairman for the first year, and indeed to Joe as Vice Chairman for this last year. I'm sure, Joe, you'll enjoy every minute of the next year. As I look back on my term of office, I was blessed to do a bit to enhance the civic life of the county. I'm frequently asked what my best memory has been. I've just been asked it at lunchtime as well. How can I seek to identify any single event from the 300 plus engagements I've been to? Uniquely, I attended wreath laying along with other dignitaries and council leaders after the death of Queen Elizabeth II, and was also part of the proclamations of the new King Charles III outside City Hall and also Market Harborough. They could be highlights. However, my fondest memories have been the dozen or more Prince's Trust team presentations at various locations in the city and county. For those unaware of this programme, it involves about a dozen young people aged 16 to 25 and unemployed, working together, totally unknown to each other by the way, working together on a 12-week personal development course, which includes 1 week residential, often using Bow Manor Hall's facilities. At the end of the 12 weeks, they give a presentation to family members, VIPs, and achieve qualifications and receive certificates handed out by either the Lord Lieutenant or one of his deputies. Hearing how these young people have come out of their shells, produced CVs, carried out community work, and often got job offers is truly inspiring. It's actually quite emotional. Started by the present King Charles in the 1970s, well over 1 million young people across the country have now got some qualifications, and many now have sustainable jobs. And finally, I have many people to thank, but I'll limit it to those who have been directly involved in managing my attendance at the hundreds of events over the 2 years. Firstly, I thank Amber Middleton, who's on holiday this week, of course, who started in the role as Chairman Secretary just before I was elected, and has kept the details of the appointments and liaised with other civic dignitaries and organisations who've requested my presence across the county, in the city and across to Rutland. And lastly, oh dear, too emotional this is. I thank Jo Martin, showman chauffeur, sitting over there, who has had to cope with me. She has driven me from my home to all the various appointments and coped with a change of Jaguar from diesel to electric. Fortunately, we both like cats, so plenty to talk about. And so from your outgoing chairman, thank you all for your support. Thank you.
Leader.
Well, thank you very much, Kevin. That was a lovely speech and, as we all heard, very passionate. We're super grateful to you, Kevin, for carrying out the role of chairman for 2 years. And you do have a real sense of service to civic life and to Leicestershire, which has been demonstrated through your unstinting enthusiasm and dedication to the role. So thanks a lot, Kevin. Kevin, in the 2 years he's been here, obviously the first year was loads busier than the second, has attended, as Kevin said, 300 events. And I think the only other person that's exceeded you in 300 events is with us today, which is Mike Jones, who probably did more. So thank you for your diligence, Kevin. So during your first year, Kevin, you did mention you represented the County Council with the most significant changes to the constitutional monarchy in many a generation, not a generation, and at this time, as chairman, included Her Majesty the Queen Elizabeth II's Platinum Jubilee celebrations in June of 22, and of course this was followed very quickly and sadly by the passing of Her Majesty and the proclamation of King Charles III in September of 2022. So you had a lot of events to go to there, Kevin. And I also want to place on record thanks to your lady chauffeur who has driven you around diligently, and of course you live right out in the middle of nowhere into County Hall and all around, so thank you very much. Finally, you also put on a big lunch, okay, not as big as celebrations for King Charles, etc., but it was good, and people certainly enjoyed it. And of course you continued in your second year, thank you very much, but not quite so momentous, but you've certainly been up to the job. I think I speak for all of us when I say that the members and officers of the County Council have valued the work that you've carried out, Kevin, on behalf of the County Council. And I'm sure everyone will agree that you've represented the Council with dignity and sincerity throughout a very successful 2 years. And I want to thank you most sincerely for the way you've undertaken your civic duties on our behalf. Your service to the County Council and to the Leicester community is most appreciated by all elected members, and you can look back on with great pride and satisfaction on your 2-year term of office. And I understand that you're not standing in 2025, so enjoy your last year on the back benches, and I'm sure we'll find you plenty of work to do. Thank you very much.
Mr. Mullaney.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I add my own personal thanks and those of my group to Kevin for his time as chairman. The role of chairman represents ceremonial tradition, and that is why so many organisations wish to invite the chairman to their events. And regardless of the size of the organisation or of the event, having the chairman attend provides a real sense of occasion and civic pride. Kevin's 2 years have been marked out by many both formal and informal occasions, such as we've heard, involving the momentous changes in our royal family. It seems fairly certain that no other chairman of the County Council will ever be involved in celebrating a Platinum Jubilee and a coronation during their term of office again. So I'd like to conclude by expressing the thanks of my group for everything that Kevin's done for the County Council over the last 2 years. Thank you.
Mrs. Hunt.
Thank you, Chair. I'd also like to put this opportunity to thank Kevin on behalf of the Labour Group. Kevin and I have served on Scrutiny Committee together, so I know Kevin fairly well, and the humility that Kevin has took to all of the events and occasions was no surprise to me, and it was always lovely to bump into him at the various events that he attended when I was in situ as well. the support that you've given to grassroots, such as the Prince's Trust that you've obviously mentioned in your speech, but actually the honour you had to serve the council during some real historic changes that we'll see in our lifetime. So thank you so much for your time and the amount of effort and energy that you put into the role. It's a really important role, and we thank you for your commitment to that. Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you, Mrs. Hunt. Any other comments? If not, we move on. So thank you, Kevin.
Kevin, move back to us.
Yes,
Then you're on the right page.
yeah, we move on to- Thank you very much. We move on to agenda item number 2, to elect a vice chairman. I invite nominations.
Chairman, it gives me great pleasure to nominate Richard Shepherd for the office of Vice Chairman of the County Council for the ensuing year. We all know Richard. Richard's a long-standing member of the County Council, first elected in 2005. He also served on the borough for a while. So like Joe, he's now in his 5th term of office. Richard has served as a scrutiny commissioner between 2012 and 17 before becoming a cabinet member in 2017 with the portfolio to support the lead member for resources. But I'm going to go a bit off script here because Richard's main job and the job that I have appreciated most has been as Chief Whip of the Conservative Group. And a Chief Whip of a Conservative Group, especially when you're 42, is exceedingly important. And it wouldn't be rude to other whips to say he's certainly the best Chief Whip I've worked with. He's diligent, he's honest, and he's hard-working. I think those attributes alone will make him an excellent Vice Chairman. Thank you.
I invite someone to second, member, Mr. Mullane.
On behalf of the Liberal Democrat Group, I second Richard's nomination as Vice Chairman of the County Council. I hope Richard enjoys his civic duties, and on behalf of my group, I wish him every success for the next year.
Thank you. Mr. Shepherd, well, I can't even see where he is. Oh, he's there. Would you like to step forward?
I, Richard James Shepherd, of 73 Leicester Road, Quorn, in the county of Leicestershire, having been elected to the office of Vice Chairman of Leicestershire County Council, do hereby declare that I take the said office upon myself and will duly and faithfully fulfil the duties thereof according to the best of my judgment and ability. I undertake to be guided by the County Council's Code of Conduct for elected members in the performance of my functions in that office. Dated this 15th day of May 2024. Okay. Do I sign now? Thank you. Thank you. Can I say a few words?
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Thank you. Chairman, fellow members, I'd like to thank Nick for proposing me, Michael for seconding me for this office, and I recognise what an honour it is to be the Vice Chairman of this Council, and I'm really looking forward to supporting our Chairman, Joe Orson, in the coming 12 months in his role as Chairman, and looking forward also to my own service. So thank you all very much indeed.
Moving on to agenda item number 3, Chairman's announcements. D-Day 80. Thursday the 6th of June will mark the 80th anniversary of the D-Day landings. To commemorate the occasion, I, along with Mrs. Posnett, Armed Forces Lead, will be raising a specially commissioned flag at County Hall. The small ceremony will be at 10:30 a.m. and an invitation will be sent to all members. Later that day, a special evensong service led by the Dean of Leicester Cathedral, Karen Rooms, will be held at Leicester Cathedral to mark the anniversary. Members will have already received their invitation. I do hope you will be able to join me at either one or both to remember all those who fought in honour of our country during World War II. Armed Forces Day. As a prelude to Armed Forces Day, there will be an Armed Forces Day flag raising ceremony at our Stand Easy Memorial on Monday, the 24th of June at 10:30 a.m. Unfortunately, I will not be able to attend, but my Vice Chairman, Richard Shepherd, will be hosting on my behalf. As is normal, all members will be invited, and I do hope that you will be able to join Richard for what I am sure will be a successful event to recognise our armed forces. On Saturday the 29th of June, together with the Lord Lieutenant and Lord Mayor of Leicester, I will be attending the Armed Forces Day Parade in Leicester City. The parade will include service personnel, veterans and cadets who will march through the streets of Leicester. Following the parade, there will be an outside drumhead service in Jubilee Square, and I would ask all members, if they can, to come into the city and watch this fitting tribute to our armed forces and veterans. County service. I will be hosting a county service later in the year, and all members will receive an invitation in due course. Although this is not scripted, I do know it will be at no surprise to my Melton colleagues, but St Mary's Church, Melton Mowbray. Moving on to agenda item number 4, report of the returning officers, pages 3 to 4. To the Chief Executive, who will present report of returning office.
Chairman, I present the report of the returning officer on the election of Mr Barry Richard Walker to the Council at the election held on the 2nd of May 2024.
So, congratulations, Ms Walker, and I hope you enjoy your stay with the County Council, at least until next May. Agenda item number 5, the minutes, pages 5 and 16. I move the minutes of the meeting of the Council held on the 21st of February 2024, copies of which have been circulated to members, be taken as read, confirmed and signed. Mr Shepherd, will you second?
I second that, Chairman.
Thank you. Moving on to agenda item number 6, declarations of interest. I invite members who wish to do so to make declarations of interest in respect of items on the agenda for this meeting. I have been informed that Mr Bedford will be declaring a disclosable pecuniary interest in the leader's position statement, as he is an employee of one of the organisations concerned, and although the item does not directly affect his financial interests, it relates in part to his employer, so he will leave the room whilst that is debated. Are there any other declarations? No. Thank you. Agenda item number 7. Questions asked under standing order 7, 1, 2 and 5. The questions and replies set out in the order paper will be taken as read and entered into the minutes. Mr Hunt, I understand, will be asking supplementary questions to both questions. Mr Hunt.
Thank you, Chair. And could I first of all congratulate you on becoming our next Chair. We served together on the Police Authority, and I learnt a lot from you at the time, and perhaps the Police Authority wasn't such a bad way of running the police force after all. Okay. These are 2 questions, Chair, 2 responses. and supplementary questions. The first one is on the County Council's own operations for climate change, which have been remarkably successful, saving millions of pounds on street lighting and saving energy on this building. Why are we delaying it without even knowing how we're going to achieve the target we've set?
Mr. Blake. Payne.
Congratulations, Chairman. In response to your question, listen, I'm not sure if it actually was a supplementary. I think the question is answered the initial question, but I don't believe we're delaying anything. We've set out to achieve our net zero targets by 2050 and 2045, or 2045 and 2050 respectively.
Thank you. Your second part.
On the second one, we really do not have an answer on this, simply saying that officers may come up with something. And if I could just summarise where we are. We declared an emergency, and you can respond to this if I'm incorrect. We responded to an emergency. We set about 150 or more actions. Then we decided to delay them for 5 years, which is what you've just done. But you're not sure how to do it. You aren't, are you?
Mr. Payne.
Mr. Hunt, yes, the Council did declare a climate emergency, but I must say we have answered the initial question. There is no change to the budget that we set in February. I have to say that the Labour group did not come forward with an amendment to that budget proposing £475,000 worth of additional funding to meet the initial targets. So in all good spirit, we had to make decisions, which has meant that we have altered our budgets and been pragmatic and proportionate with not only the monies that we have available, but the time as well to meet those targets. And finally, can I just say that when we set out to draw up a plan to achieve our net zero targets, it's a bit like a Premiership football team in a league. They set out to win the league, but if something happens to their star striker or their midfielder during the course of that season, they have to alter their plan. We have significant financial pressures here at Leicestershire County Council, and in accordance with those pressures, we have had to alter our plan. We are still seeking to meet our objectives by the mandatory dates that the government has set, and I believe we've still answered the question that you put.
Thank you, Mr. Payne. We move on to agenda item number 8, to receive position statements from members of the Cabinet. I will now invite the leader to make his position statement. I will make clear that when the leader has finished, I will invite members to speak. If you wish to speak, please raise your hand. I will then call you to speak. I will invite Mrs. Hack and Mr. Mullaney as leaders of the opposition to speak last before the leader's right of reply. Leader.
Thank you, Chairman, and congratulations. I don't propose to read it all. It is before you, but I will say a few things in between. So first of all, I want to congratulate Rupert Matthews on his re-election as Police and Crime Commissioner. He's a good friend and he has my full support in delivering his role. And also I want to congratulate Deborah. So the Police and Crime Panel, although you don't particularly like it, Max, is chaired ably by Deborah Taylor, and I think it's useful, in fact good, that she has a really good working relationship with Rupert, which in my view can only benefit Leicestershire. It also would be remiss of me not to congratulate Claire Ward, the Labour candidate for the so-called East Midlands Combined Authority, or more East Midlands Combined Authority in drag, because it lacks us in the city. I'm happy to work with her. I've sent her a message today, and I will meet her and I will work with her in the interests of particular of Leicestershire and in general the East Midlands. Performance and proficiency updates. Members will have seen the furore. Well, I didn't think it was much of a furore. I thought it was drivel what the Sunday Times put in the paper. I don't think the way they did the analysis was particularly useful. They only used 21 measures and they ignored relative funding. That's why we prefer the more rounded approach to performance benchmarking taken by the County Council and reported to the Cabinet in March. And Andy Brown and his team here, Andy Brown, the unsung hero in the Chiefs Department, has excellent work in bringing forward that report. And according to our analysis, Leicestershire ranks third for core performance and moves to the top of the chart when our, well, it says low funding, when our poorest funding in the country is considered. This is what we stand for. This is a definition of delivering value for money for our residents. For the funding we receive, I'm confident that Leicestershire receive better outcomes than anywhere else in the country. On the gas outage in Ratby and Kirby Muxloe, I want to place on, although it's not in my script, on particular praise to Ozzy O'Shea in his work as the county councillor for that area. He did massive amounts of work and was actually out on the streets up to his neck or knees in water day after day. So I really want to thank Ozzy in particular on behalf of his residents for the work he did. We've also asked Cadent Gas, which is and Severn Trent, for a full explanation of what happened, but apparently at the moment we've still not got any response, and I will continue to press for those full explanations. That's why Peter had to go out, because he works for, as you know, as an accountant in there. In the meantime, it remains a concern, and this is, Ozzy has told me about this, that residents are still waiting for replacement of gas equipment which was damaged beyond repair. I mean, I'm sure Ozzy will say a few words, but there are people there still working off primer stoves and things like that. I mean, it is pretty appalling. You know, these are two very major companies making large profits, and they really, really should step up to the plate and sort the issue out. On the tree for every person, congratulations to Blake. I think it says here 356,000. This was probably written a month ago. I think by the summer will be 400,000 trees planted in Leicestershire, which is way more than halfway to our total. Last year, in partnership with the Woodland Trust, we actually gave away 50,000 trees and hedgerows, and we're hoping to exceed that number. On rural broadband, and again, good news, Pam, who's in charge of it, has done excellent work in the rollout of the fastest, most reliable internet connections for our residents and businesses. I mean, it seems surprising to me. I live in Ashby-de-la-Zouch and I can get 1 gigabyte at the door with fibre optic, but there are still places, not just rural. I understand there's some strange places in Loughborough, for instance, which is really, really built up, which still struggle without broadband. And in my view, broadband is now along their importance to people as water, gas, electric, and clean air. So it is pretty appalling that we're not quite there yet, but we are nearly there, and I thank Pam for her work. So we've got Project GigHub was completed by BT in March 2024, and that provides rural broadband to 43 rural buildings. The digital team has also been working with Openreach to encourage a number of fibre community partnerships in the rural areas. 8 exchanges in Leicestershire have so far gone ahead with builds, and we'll continue to engage with the government's Project Gigabyte, which will benefit another 14,500 properties in Leicestershire. More details will become available as the build starts in late summer. So my full report is written, and that concludes what I want to say in addition, Chairman.
Thank you, Leader. I have 4 people waiting to speak. Councillor O'Shea.
Thank you, Chair, and congratulations on your appointment. I'm sure you'll do an excellent job for the County of Leicestershire. I'd just like to thank the Leader for his thanks, the way that he came over to say thank you to me. I have worked, yes, I have worked. It's been a pleasure to work for the community of Ratby. I also worked for Kirby Muxloe over the last few weeks, or months really, and I'm really saddened that we're in a position that we are in with vulnerable people, not still having cooking equipment to actually cook on. Only this week I've dealt with, and today I dealt with 5 people, you know, 80-year-olds, 75-year-olds, who don't have a hob that was condemned, who doesn't have, you know, a gas fire. I know the weather turned well last week, but we've not had decent weather. You know, these things are what we all take for granted, things that we should have in our houses, but due to the outage in Ratby and Kirby, they've not had them. And I can say over the last few weeks, I've probably dealt with 30 people who are vulnerable, who need these things doing and replacing as a matter of urgency. And I want to put on my record to Andy Fairburn, who is a senior officer at Severn Trent. Yes, you may say, well, we're all criticising Severn Trent, we're criticising them for not working. But I have to say, I think a lot of the failure is not having the teams in Sedgwick, which is their insurance division, who deal with the issues, because they've said to residents that you need to actually put a quote in now for your hob and for your gas cooker with 4 hobs. You know, they've been sending quotes in, but it's taking months to actually deal with something. But I've been in contact with Andy, and each individual one I have vulnerable that I deal with, I send to Andy, and he looks at them and deals with them across Kirkby Muxloe and at Ratby this week. But what I would like and urge Severn Trent to do is to get a grip of Sedgwick, the insurance people, to answer people. They're not answering the phone, they're not answering emails. Give the residents of Ratby and Kirkby Muxloe what they deserve. They deserve to have all their things put right. So my heart goes out to the people that are still suffering, and I hope that they listen to us to actually get something done with Sedgwick to get this we put right. I'd like to also come on to broadband as well, because I really like to thank Pam and the team, and it is a genuine thank you, because I've been approached by my residents at Fieldhead and across, I don't cover Markfield, but Markfield as well, to get fast broadband up there. And I'm pleased to say that officers have worked with Virgin, and Virgin Broadband is going into Fieldhead and across to Markfield. So it is an actual pleasure to see that we are, as a council, working with the utilities to get broadband across areas, and certainly I'm proud of it going into my area. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Mr O'Shea. I have to say, spoken from the heart. Thank you very much. Mr Brecon.
Thank you, Chair. Common theme, congratulations on your election. Enjoy your year ahead. Picking up on the leader's performance and efficiency update that he spoke about, as county councillors, we owe it to our residents to ensure that the best possible use is made of the money they pay us. That is why the performance information the leader outlined in his statement is so important. It not only provides assurance on expenditure, but helps to identify where future improvements could come from. Members, the reality for the majority of council taxpayers is that unless they need significant support from social care services that we provide, they are likely to pay more than the services they receive. Leicestershire is placed comfortably in the top 10 of counties purely on performance. And what I find particularly pleasing is this is achieved significantly with the less funding that we have from our peers. On average, the other county authorities in that top 10 receive an average of 14% more funding per head, which is equivalent to 130 million a year, which is equivalent to a third of our council tax precept. This performance is not achieved without the significant hard work of our officers. As a council, we have to continually evolve to respond to changing residents' needs, government requirements, evolutions in technology and practice, and of course the financial situation. Performance is an area that the council's external auditors are increasingly focusing upon. It was good to see in their report to the Corporate Governance Committee in January that they recognised the council's good track record of sound financial management and the embedded process to monitor performance. Members can be assured that we'll continue to monitor the 257 measures that we currently use to measure our performance, and residents of Leicestershire can be assured that the decisions that this administration makes and the scrutiny that the whole of council gives to those decisions will ensure best value is achieved for every pound that we have to spend, and will be for the good of all of our residents in Leicestershire. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs Brecon. It's very strange to call Mrs Posnett. I've known her so long, it's always been Pam, but Mrs Posnett.
Thank you, Chairman, and congratulations on your position. And I look forward to the second civic event at St Mary's Church. As Mr Richardson has shown, Leicestershire County Council is committed to bringing ultra-fast, reliable broadband to our rural communities and businesses. Recent interventions such as Project GigaHub and the Fibre Community Partnerships have been focused on our rural areas, delivering full fibre, gigabit-capable infrastructure to areas where there were no commercial plans to build due to their rural location. This has enabled over 4,500 premises to access the fastest and most reliable connections available. Work done in these areas has also made them more viable for further commercial builds to go ahead. Gigabit speeds mean households can download a high-definition film in under 1 minute, stream and download entertainment and shop online across several different devices at once. The upgrades will help grow the economy and create jobs by making it easier to set up and grow a business. Project Gigabit will build on this, with builds starting in late 2024. This project will bring gigabit-capable connections to over 14,500 rural Leicestershire premises by 2030, with the potential for more rural premises to be added before the project's end. Alongside this, Leicestershire County Council's digital team are working on a digital strategy that will investigate alternative technologies to further the availability of high-speed internet to those hardest to reach in rural premises. These initiatives mean rural Leicestershire communities will have access to networks designed to meet people's needs for decades to come as the demand for fast connections continues to rise. Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Newton.
Thank you, Chair. I do hope you have a good year and enjoy it. I hadn't meant to speak, but mention was made of Storm Henk, and like a number of us, my area in Hathern was very badly affected, especially the major road of the A6, very badly flooded, and also was overflowing at the other side from the River Trent. And it was just to ask to ensure that we do commend the highways, because their response was outstanding. They must have had many areas to deal with throughout the county, but I find them very helpful. And I would just like to sort of think that we will look at future how much we can do to help those low-lying areas when it comes to very heavy flooding, and also once again to commend the officers for all their work. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Newton. Number 5, Mr. Payne.
Once again, Chairman, congratulations. In response to the leader's position statement and trees, I just want to add a few things. Yes, it's brilliant that Leicestershire County Council have achieved nearly half of its overall target. I think before we set the target, we were planting or giving away up to 20,000 trees a year. So some basic maths would suggest over the last 3 years, it's about 113,000 trees that we've either given away or directly planted or contributed or collaborated to get in the ground, and that's a remarkable achievement, because obviously it contributes to our environmental objectives, and also it's good for mitigation of flooding, etc. But it's not just about the environment, it's about improving the character and appearance of Leicestershire. And I think in time we'll all see, and Leicestershire residents will see, the benefit of this programme. I just want to put on record that the government's target is to achieve 12% tree cover by 2060, or rather 12% woodland cover. And what's remarkable in North West Leicestershire with the National Forest is that since 1991 to 2019, they've increased woodland cover from 6% to over 19%, or 21% if I'm not mistaken. And that is remarkable, and we're partnering with the National Forest, and you'll remember that I made a position statement talking about our collaboration with regards to a nursery to grow new trees, and I'd like to report to Council that the initial works have now nearly been completed, and hopefully over the summer and certainly by the autumn this year we'll be transplanting and seeding new trees for Leicestershire, and I look forward to the yield that nursery brings. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Payne. Mr. Ashman.
This is really just to follow up on Project Gigabit and to what Mrs. Posnett said, is that it's now being rolled out in Forest and Measham Division, but also to thank the company involved who actually came along and made sure that they briefed the parish council of what was going on and built good relationships with the local community to pick up those areas that's actually needed. Everyone would think that Measham is fairly well covered by broadband, but there are a lot of outlying areas that will benefit from this from across the whole area. And also just to follow up on what Mr. Payne said about the tree coverage in the Forest and Measham Division, it went from being the lowest in Leicestershire to now being the highest, and it'll get even better with the Hanging Hill tree nursery, which is being rolled out to look for more indigenous trees rather than the ones that just fill in very easily, and that actually helps with the whole biodiversity across the area. So those are two good news stories, and hopefully you'll pass on my thanks to those involved.
Thank you. Mr. King.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. Congratulations on your election to chair. I hope you do enjoy the year. So I just wanted to respond a little bit to what the leader said about, and Mr. Payne, about forestry. And I saw this morning, a few hours ago, that the Office of National Statistics released an interesting stat that in 1965, woodland cover of the UK was 7%, and last year it had risen to 13%. So we're actually following the national trend of increasing woodland tree cover across Leicestershire County Council, but in particular it's been a very popular scheme in my division in Market Harborough West and Foxton. And also I'd like to just say again, I'm very grateful as a resident in my rural part of my division for the work that's been done on the increasing the coverage of giga broadband, because it's a very rural area and getting the commercial providers there has been quite difficult. So that's also something which residents in my division have been very happy about. But what I'm a little concerned about, and obviously we congratulate Mrs Ward on becoming the mayor of the, as I call it, East Midlands Light. But on a serious point, I do hope that the leader will encourage the mayor to not follow the direction of the mayor of the city in being the roadblock to having a proper, fully fledged, full strength East Midlands Combined Authority, where we then do get all the devolved powers and money that the opposition group here, when they are in control in North West, in Greater Manchester and Liverpool and South Yorkshire and all those other places, seem to think is a jolly good idea, and they do want it to be strengthened and enhanced. So what's good for them, it ought to be good for us, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Mear.
Cheers. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I also wish you a good and successful year as Chair of the County Council. I just wanted to touch on my congratulations to Rupert Matthews being re-elected, and I think it's remiss if we don't. Yes, it was close, but he's back. I prefer it to be Rory, but I know I've got a good working relationship with the existing Police and Crime Commissioner. Not so then we have the people zones in my division, and I think they've been very successful in cutting down on some levels of crime, not all the crime, but some levels of crime, and giving reassurance to people who live in that area. So I look forward to working with Mr. Matthews on that one as well. But I just wanted to touch on what Mr. King said about the combined authority, and I think it's, yeah, we echo, and we were really happy that Claire got in, and it's very successful for Labour. We've had a very good set of elections, all bar the PCC elections in Leicestershire. But it doesn't have to be this us and them situation. I think we should go back to the drawing board on this one. And I think what seems to be happening on the other side, and they're trying to write a narrative, is that we seem to be the stumbling block to them being able to get a combined authority. And what they don't realise is that it's their government, that's in national power, who write the rules for this. So I think the stumbling block is probably the national government and not a Labour opposition. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Now, before I invite Mrs. Hack to speak, I will announce that I'm not inviting any more speakers. So, Mrs. Hack.
Thank you, Chair, and congratulations on your year. Hope you have a good year ahead. Just wanted to start with the local elections. Of course, obviously extend my congratulations to Rupert Matthews in being re-elected as the Police and Crime Commissioner. As Councillor Myers already said, wouldn't have been my choice, but congratulations to Rupert. It was a very closely fought contest, and democracy wins out in the end, and that's an important part of that process. I'm very much obviously also happy that Claire Ward was successful, becoming the mayor of the Nottingham-Nottinghamshire, Derby-Derbyshire Combined Authority. I think Claire will put forward some positive steps forward, and glad that Nick will be meeting her in due course. In terms of performance of the council, I think we have to always thank our officers and the work that they do. They consistently drive performance. They consistently want the best for our residents, and every time we're always really grateful to them. So I just wanted to put my thanks on record to them. In terms of the gas outage, you know, I think everybody recognises Aussie just has been a really important member of his community, driving forward that improvement for his residents. Those residents have actually suffered greatly, and to hear that some of them still don't have cooking facilities, I think is pretty disappointing. And I know Aussie's working really hard to make sure that that's improved for his residents as soon as possible. In terms of Tree for Every Person, I think I could say is we've set a target. And when you set targets, really clear targets and objectives, actually you can deliver them. And congratulations to Blake to push that forward, because I think that's, you know, it's been really important. It's actually been quite a positive step forward in terms of bringing communities together. I've certainly seen residents get crosser when we chop trees down or we prune them. They get very upset by those things. So actually, I think there is a real sense that people feel very connected to nature. And actually, if we can create a positive future for our residents, that's got to be good. In terms of rural broadband, I think, you know, a massive important step forward on infrastructure. I think the worst thing I always see is that people had increasingly felt left behind. The digital world moves forward, and we have to make sure our existing communities are kept in front of that curve. The technology moves on. And I think I'm just really aware, particularly speaking day to day with residents, just how they feel when digital capacity moves on and they feel super left behind. So investment in our rural communities, our communities that feel disconnected, getting that broadband up and running is definitely good for them. Thank you, Pam, for that work.
Thank you, Mrs. Hack. Mr. Mullaney.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So in terms of the local elections, obviously I congratulate Rupert Matthews and Claire Ward on their elections. I've worked with Rupert Matthews in his role, and I know he's an enthusiastic police crime commissioner. I would also mention that the report didn't mention the one election to this authority, of course, where we are today on Leicestershire County Council, which was won by my colleague Barry with a 14% swing in Burbage. In terms of performance and efficiency, obviously it still comes back to the fact that we are so poorly funded as an authority, and people see that in the potholes in roads and damaged pavements that can't be repaired and the bus services that can't be subsidised. And so whilst our council does a very good job efficiently with what it gets, it's unfair that we are at the bottom of the league for funding, and that needs to be changed, and we've been waiting too long for that. In terms of the tree planting, congratulations on that. I know that within the boroughs and districts a lot of this work is going on as well. We have a free tree scheme in Hinckley and Bosworth where we've given away tens of thousands of trees to local residents. Certainly I agree with Aussie and the leader that the utility companies do need to sort things for the residents who are still having to wait unacceptable amounts of times in Ratby and Kirby Muxloe to get what they need provided to them. And on the broadband issue, yes, I mean, there are issues in rural areas and even in some of the urban areas of a lack of broadband access, so the more that can be done there, the better.
Thank you, Mr. Mullaney. I invite the leader to respond.
Thank you very much, Chairman. So first of all, to Betty. So we are the lead local or flood authority, as you point out, and sometimes it's exceedingly hard going to a parish council and explaining our role, that we investigate, coordinate, design, and then we have to wait for others to fund. So in recognition that we did put extra money into the budget in February to help Tor and her team down in that department, because they do work exceedingly hard. And we've got to remember this year we've had 7% more rain. So they say it's been the warmest April on record. Well, I was bloody cold and wet the whole of April. But apparently we have had 7% more rain. And I thank you for your comments about the highway people that Aussie works with, and he will pass those on. So thank you, Betty. Phil, obviously we can't join the so-called East Midlands Council, either East Midlands Light or East Midlands Council in drag, whichever you want to call it. Probably East Midlands Light is more polite, but we can't join. The new elected mayor, Claire, has said she has no expansion plans for the East Midlands area. She has offered to meet, so I will meet her, because I think, Phil, in all honesty, a lot of the very profitable stuff happens to be in Leicestershire. You know, we've got the Freeport, we've got the airport, all that stuff around in Trevor's area on the motorway junction. We need to make sure that they don't want to get their fingers on it because they want our money. If we were invited to join, we still couldn't, because as you rightly point out, City Mayor will not play ball on a directly elected mayor for the East Midlands. In fact, to be perfectly honest, he's dragging his feet over a so-called level 2 deal. Everybody is now saying, oh, they want to wait for a general election. I am working my hardest with him, and also I've got problems with the leader of Rutland, so-called leader of Rutland, because that's a real mixture of parties in charge there, as you know, Phil. But I am continuing to meet them to try to get some sort of deal. And I do have a phone call scheduled, although it's not taken place yet, with Jacob Young to explain to him the situation we are in Leicestershire. And if I get any positive news, I will report back to full council in July. I didn't put it in my position statement because at the moment it's all a bit hearsay, trying this, trying that. But as soon as there is positive news, I will report back to full council. Amanda, thank you for your generally positive comments. I think we do work quite well together, but thank you. Michael, if you are planting trees, on just a small issue, if you are planting trees and giving them away in Hinckley-Bosworth, which I know you probably were, same as North West, please report it back to Blake and to the County Council so we can count them. You know, we're not going to claim credit for them all, and our policy was to see 700,000 trees planted in Leicestershire, and I'd hate to think that we're missing out on some trees that you're giving away, which will add to that total. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Leader. I will now invite the lead member for Children's Families, Safer Communities and Regulatory Services to make her position statement. Again, if you wish to speak, please raise your hands. I will then call you to speak. If Mrs. Hack or Mr. Mullaney wish to speak, I will call them last before the lead member's right to reply. Mrs. Taylor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and congratulations on your position for the year. I hope you have a good year. So I'm going to start with the Family Hub. So there's been a huge amount of activity to develop and promote Leicestershire's family hubs over the last 12 months. There are now 20 family hubs open and 16 family hubs in libraries across the county. This was following the award of just under £1 million in grant funding from the Department for Education. And the activity has taken place across the council to develop the 3 elements of the Family Hub programme. And myself and my support cabinet member Craig have opened all of the family hubs ourselves. I think I've attended all but one, cut all the ribbons and ate all the cake. So, yeah, we are missing our cake at the moment because they're all open now. So we have included the development of a website for use by parents and carers, young people, professionals and volunteers, and that website has been developed working in partnership with parents and carers, community groups and partner organisations and with the young people themselves, and work continues to enhance the content of that website. So I would urge you to take a look at that website, and if there's any improvements that you'd like to see to it or any suggestions, then we're always open to hear some positive suggestions for the website. The second focus has been the improvement to the family hub buildings and promotion of these as community venues at which all families can seek information and advice. And this is building on the range of services which are co-delivered from these important community buildings. Public events have taken place throughout the year, launching the buildings under the Family Hubs banner to promote awareness amongst families. Through partnership working, the Family Hubs can now offer a range of services from a number of agencies, including DWP, Bennett's Advice, health visiting and midwifery, housing support, domestic abuse services, adult mental health services, community paediatrician clinics and many other partnerships. An additional community fridge is opening in Lutterworth, adding to our fridges in Loughborough, Wigston, Coeville and Hinckley. And we have volunteers continue to support regular stay and play sessions in the hubs for families alongside other open access sessions such as the Wellbeing Cafe and support groups of parents of children with SEND. And finally, through our partnership arrangements, the Family Hub teams have supported the production of Leicestershire's first maternity and early years strategy, published a Start for Light offer and an updated early health strategy. On to school admissions. So I'm pleased to share that on National Offer Day for first-time admissions in April 2024, 99.1% of children were allocated places at one of their top 3 preferences schools, including 94.8% who obtained their first preference. Both figures are an improvement on last year, leaving just 60 children for whom the nearest school with places was allocated. This is real positive news for those children starting school in September who have secured a school place in Leicestershire at one of their preferred schools, and I'm really proud of the whole team of how they've handled the admissions, and we've made some significant changes and improvements to that service over the past year, so I was really pleased with that outcome. I just want to mention Charlie Tripp, who's aged 15. So Charlie's a young carer and he's a member of our County Youth Council of Leicestershire. So over the last 2 years, Charlie's been involved in updating a number of Leicestershire County Council policy documents and creating and delivering a school-based curriculum programme on physical and mental health. He has chaired meeting and interview panels, worked with professionals from health services, and made a video for charity that enabled children in care to move placements with duffel bags, which enabled the council to request 50 of the bags for children in care in the county. Charlie spends over 4 hours volunteering each week, as well as being the sole carer for his mum, who was disabled in a car accident when he was just 4 years old. Charlie has championed the voices of children and young people, especially young carers, and has been part of working groups looking at the impact of being a young carer. He recently wrote a speech which he shared with Dame Rachel D'Souza about being a young carer, and has spoken to the press about the importance of identifying and supporting young carers. The Youth and Justice Service nominated Charlie for the Lord Lieutenant's Award for Young People 2024. On Thursday, the 25th of April, finalists from the 4 categories were invited to a special awards ceremony here at County Hall, which the previous chairman also attended. They were presented with certificates and prizes, and I was absolutely delighted that Charlie was awarded the Young Volunteer of the Year. It was an amazing evening to be here, and I was really grateful to be sat for dinner with Charlie and his family, so it's really nice to spend the evening with her, and great to get to know Charlie a bit better. So huge congratulations to Charlie. He's an amazing young person. On to the other part of my portfolio. So this is protecting Leicester communities, consumers and businesses. So our Trading Standards East Midlands is a voluntary partnership of the 8 local authority trading standing services in the East Midlands, all working together to maximise resources to ensure we deliver effective customer protection to 4.8 million people. Leicestershire Trading Standards utilises this partnership to access enforcement resources made available through the National Transferring Standards, where the identified fraudulent practice of concern to Leicestershire is also perpetrated across the region. The regional investigation team is hosted by Nottingham County Council, and all the Trading Standards services providing additional support to the regional investment process. A fraudster conned residents out of 1.5 million, promising significant energy saving and effective home security through its products and services. Robin McDonald's company representatives told householders fitting solar panels and heat pumps would save money, and falsely claimed that the installation would be funded by the government. However, systems were often badly fitted and did not deliver the savings promised. Another trading arm of the business Midwest vulnerable customers into receiving an alarm product, saying it was linked direct to the emergency services. Following a lengthy 5-month trial at Nottingham Crown Court, McDonald was found guilty of conspiracy to commit fraud by false representation. 32 of the victims were Leicestershire residents, and between them they lost more than $285,000 to the fraud. Sales representatives would use bullying tactics, secure contracts, offer staying in the homes of victims for many hours to pressure them into signing contracts for work they did not want or need at significantly inflated prices. McDonald and 2 other co-defendants were sentenced in June. I'm pleased to report that Leicestershire Trading Standards recently successfully prosecuted a franchise fraud which received significant media attention, with the defendant receiving a 3.5-year custodial sentence. However, the work for our Trading Standards officers continues post-convictions, with inquiries to ensure assets held by the defendant were traced and recovered to compensate the victims of the frauds. The total amount of compensation paid to victims exceeded $130,000, and the County Council also recovered $30,000 in prosecution costs. On to Rutland and North Leicestershire Coroner Service. In November 2021, following the retirement of the senior coroner, the Rutland and North Leicestershire Coroner Service relocated from Loughborough to Leicester Town Hall as part of the interim arrangements pending the outcome of a proposal to merge this service with the Leicester and South Leicestershire jurisdiction, which is operated by the City Council. In 2022, the County Council made final submissions to the Ministry of Justice that in the interest of service users and effective finance governments, the two jurisdictions should be retained, with the Rutland and North Leicestershire Coroner Service relocating to County Hall. The MOJ have now announced its decision to retain the two jurisdictions, leaving little time from a business continuity perspective for officers to ensure a seamless transfer. A combined court and offices facility is now operational at County Hall, providing a space conducive to supporting bereaved families and the formalities of the inquest process. All inquests remain listed and a recruitment process for a permanent senior coroner appointment is underway, and both the leader and myself have been down to look at the new facilities there, and it is absolutely great service for our residents there, so I'm really pleased that we got the result that we needed. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mrs. Taylor. I'd like to call Mr. Smith, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and congratulations on your appointment. I look forward to welcoming you in Colville Division over the coming year. I just want to join Mrs. Taylor in speaking very briefly about the Families Hubs, something that we've worked very closely together on over the past 12 months. And I remember standing in this chamber just over a year ago being bitterly disappointed at some opposition members' comments with regards to the Families Hubs, stating that they were just a rehashed Shore Start centres, which is nothing could be further from the truth. And it's been proved, because I'm incredibly pleased that the Families Hubs have been a resounding success across Leicestershire now. We've helped literally thousands, well, we continue to help thousands of families per day across the 20 full-time centres and obviously the 16 Shore Start centres in libraries as well. I was particularly pleased as well, the very first one was in my division of Colville North, and that was the very first one to be opened across Leicestershire. So I'd just like to place on record my thanks to Jane Moore and the entire team that have been working on the Families Hubs. I, for one, am actually glad that they're now all open, because it takes a lot of rowing to burn off all this cake. But like I say, we're now all open. We've got a year ahead. I very much look forward to working and continuing on this project and seeing its success flourish in the coming year. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Mr. Hunt.
Thank you, Chair. First of all, I'd like to thank Ms. Taylor for the work that she does. In fact, all of the front bench. You know, it's a rare gift to be able to give so much time and talent to the community, and I know that because I share some of it. As far as Family Hubs are concerned, I have to say I remain a sceptic. The first one was opened in Loughborough, it was West Loughborough, and I went along and it seemed to be doing pretty well, the same as it used to do, perhaps a bit more of this and a bit less of that. But I held off until the next one came along that I could attend. Well, I couldn't attend it, actually. I had to organise a trip of my own, and I got an appointment, went along, and it was a library. And I said, well, can you tell me about what you're doing as a family hub? And she said, well, we've got the Wrigley Readers, and I was a bit put off by that a bit, but I said, well, that's what you've always done, isn't it? Yeah, it's really good. So I said, well, what difference has it made being a family hub? And she said, sort of paused for a bit, and I prompted her and said, well, have you had training to answer questions and things? Yes, we've got training. But the overall picture was that it was a library, and it still is a library, and in the case of the West Loughborough Children's Centre, which was very important and remains so, it didn't seem to make a strong difference to the offer we're making, except, as I hear frequently in committee and in this report, the website. I think it shouldn't be too difficult to collect some statistics on the accesses we're getting to the website, who from, whether they are the people that need it or the people that would find out anyway, those sort of statistics. And I look forward to a report of that sometime on the committee. Meanwhile, you know, one can only, value the work that's being done. I've met the staff, albeit at a distance, and they are excellent, and we're certainly getting the money. That was another aspect of this. Going to Mr. Smith's comment about this isn't a rehash of Sure Start. Nothing is a rehash of Sure Start, and certainly nothing that the present administration, government or Leicestershire has done. Sure Start made huge differences to young people's lives. You can read about it in the press this week, but those months, 48 months, the first 48 months of a child's life are more consequential to the next 48 years. They had that sort of effect. But I think the figure is 74% of the money for Sure Start has been removed. And I don't really want to hear this administration saying they've got Sure Start, because they haven't. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Hunt. Mrs. Newton.
Thank you very much, Chair. Deborah, I'd like to thank you for actually raising the issue of young carers. It was my research area at university, and I have to say that they're actually the hidden face of community care. Quite often parents are far too embarrassed to say that their children are looking after them. They lose out on education, childhood activities, leisure, and they actually become the carer rather than the cared for. So I'm delighted that you've raised it, and I wonder if we could keep it in the forefront of our mind when we look at children, looking to see what sort of jobs they're actually doing. They often are the parent rather than the child. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Newton, Mrs. Newton. Mr. Bannister.
Thank you, Chairman, and congratulations on your appointment. Thank you, Mrs. Taylor, for your position statement, and thank you in particular for the comments in relation to the trading standards prosecutions. As a former prosecutor, I can certainly appreciate the hard work and diligence that went into that 5-month trial against Robin MacDonald, and congratulations to the team that secured the convictions. I also want to thank you for highlighting an important aspect of the post-conviction work, because the fraudsters do sometimes have the assets of their crime, and it is extremely important that we use the legislation under the Proceeds of Crime Act in order to seize those assets. And I'm delighted to see in your report that £130,000 has been recovered using the Proceeds of Crime legislation. So please pass on my thanks to that hard-working and diligent team at Trading Standards. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Bannister. The leader.
Thank you for that, Neil. I mean, I know it's your ex-job, so we're really kind of proud of Trading Standards down there, and Gary Connors in particular, who does an excellent job. And sometimes it gets to be a bit of a Cinderella service. We forget about it, but when somebody like you speaks up for it, who has experience of prosecutions, it's welcome news. So thank you very much, Neil. I'm only going to speak briefly, Chairman, just to thank Deborah, Gary Connors and the Chief for the work they did in retaining the Rutland and Leicestershire Coroner Service. It really, really was a battle to get it. And I urge you all, over the summer, and the new coroner, Gary tells me, I saw him in the corridor this week, is in the process of recruitment. So if you do get time, make contact with Gary and go and look round. It really is a really good service for Leicestershire, and we should be proud of it. Now, don't all go together, but contact Gary and go and have a look. It's good that we've got it, and it is down to the hard work of DT in particular, the Chief and Gary Connors. Thank you.
Thank you, Leader. Mrs. Posnett.
Thank you, Chairman. I'd just like to emphasise the success of the Children's Family Hub in Melton. It's proved very useful to some of the families that we've got. The local area coordinators that work in Melton also find it a really useful resource to have there so that they can help continue the work that the family hubs are doing with the same families that they're working with. So it's been terribly successful. And I'm quite proud to be a member champion for Children in Care. I've gone along to some of their meetings, and it's an honour to meet these young people, some of them that have had traumatic starts in life, but they're all focused. They have got an aim where they want to be, and they're very enthusiastic about it and are prepared to work hard to achieve something. And I really hope that they achieve what they want. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Posnett. I'm going to invite Mrs. Hack to speak now, so I won't be taking any more speakers. Mrs. Hack.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to echo the points already made around Charlie. Outstanding when we meet young people who are caring for their loved ones, and it's really important that we don't forget their voice. And I'm really happy, Deborah, for the work that you're doing with carers. I think it's such an important role, and so I just wanted to put my thanks on record. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Hack. Mr. Mullaney.
Yes, I just echo my appreciation for everyone involved as well.
Thank you very much. Sorry, Mrs. Taylor to respond. I do apologise.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you to Mr. Smith, and thank you also for his support on the Family Hub process. It has been a long year and taken up a lot of our time, but we've had a great time, and what's been absolutely fantastic is getting out and about across the whole county to areas that I probably haven't visited before, and meeting all the families and the staff in those areas. So I think for me that's been the greatest takeaway, meeting some of our young people out there. Ms. Hunt, thank you for, you started with kind words and saying thank you, and then you kind of switched it a bit, but thank you anyway. And I think I would urge you to go and visit a family hub again, and I'm very happy to accompany you and show you around and make an arrangement to speak to the staff there. But I think what would be a really good starting point for you is actually speak to the families rather than the staff. Hear it from the families themselves that have been to the family hub, that have been supported, and they'll be able to show you the impact that the work is having on them. There's nothing better than actually listening to the people that use our services rather than to the staff. So I would urge you to do that, and like I said, I'm very happy to come and accompany you. And we've just finished our 3-week Ofsted inspection, and you'll be able to hear what Ofsted have said about our family hubs when that report is made public as well. So I would urge you to relook again at that. And I suppose just the point about, you know, the first 5 years of children's life is very important, but every year of a child's life is important, not when they're little, but when they're teenagers and becoming, and that transitioning to adult services. So the Family Hub service is supporting children, and it's before they're born. There's the pathway programme that they run for children that are at risk of having their children taken away, that go on a pre-birth pathway service that enables them to keep their children once they're born rather than having them take away. So we start right from when children are conceived right up to the age of 25. So for me, every year of a child's life is just as important as the one before and the one coming. So for me, that's my focus. Thank you to Mrs. Newton for your kind words, and it is something that's really close to my heart, and I will continue to champion for all children, as I have done since I've been in this role. And yes, young carers don't even realise that they're carers. And it's not till someone says to them, are you looking after mum? Are you looking after dad? Are you looking after your brothers and sisters? That they finally realise. And Charlie has just been an amazing and inspirational young man to me, and I was delighted to spend a couple of hours in his company. But he's doesn't think he's anything amazing. He doesn't realise what an amazing young person he is, and I know he will grow up. He wants to be an electrician. He's looking to go to college. He wants to have a trade. He wants to be an electrician or a plumber. Really good trade for him, so he's looking for work now. So I'm just really proud, and I'll be looking forward to following his career. And Mr. Bannister, thank you for your comments on trading standards. They're a very small service, but they're a highly respected team, and they work so hard in the background, and they don't get a lot of recognition because it's not a front-facing role for them. It's not until you come across or you've been a victim of a scam that you realise how fantastic they are. So yeah, they are fantastic, and I'm really proud to support that team as they move forward. And thank you for the leader. I know he understands how important trading services are. And Mrs. Posnett, you know, you've done exactly what I'm suggesting that Mr. Hunt should do. You've got out there, you've spoken to the families that have seen the impact of the family hub. So, you know, that's the only way to find out. And thank you, Mrs. Hack. Yeah, Charlie is an amazing young person. I'm really, really proud of him. So thank you for all your kind comments. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Taylor. I move now on to agenda item number 9, report of the Cabinet. Dates of council meetings 2024-25 and 25-26. Mr. Rushton will move and Mr. Brecon will second.
Chairman, can I move the dates of the council meetings 24-25 and 25-26 as printed?
Happy to second, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. We have a vote on the motion. All in favour, please raise your hands. Unanimous. Thank you very much, members. Moving on to agenda item number 10, report of the Constitution Committee, report of the Independent Remuneration Panel on Members' Allowance. Mr. Rushton will move.
Chairman, can I formally move the report of the Independent Remuneration Panel on Members' Allowances?
I will second the motion and reserve my right to speak. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We will now take a vote on the motion. All in favour, please raise their hands. Carried. Thank you very much. Agenda item number 11, appointments in accordance with items 11 and 12 at standing order to appoint the leader. Mrs. Taylor will move and Mr. Boland will second.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. I move that Mr. N.J. Rushton be appointed leader of the council for the period until the next annual meeting of the council. Thank you.
All in favour, please raise.
Mr. Poland to second.
Forgot Mr. Poland to second. I've always been known for racing through meetings at Melton, by the way. So
While I'm on my feet, just congratulations to yourself on your election, Chair. So I'd second the motion.
all in favour, please raise your hands. Carried. Carried. Motion 2, Mr. Rushton will move and Mrs. Taylor will second.
Chairman, can I propose to appoint members named on list 1 attached to the order paper as members of the Cabinet?
Thank you, Mr. Taylor.
I'll second the motion, Mr. Chairman.
All in favour, please raise your hands. Carried. B, to appointment of Cabinet support members as the Council considers appropriate. Mr. Rushton will move and Mrs. Taylor will second.
Chairman, can I formally move that the following members be appointed as Cabinet support members until the next annual meeting of the County Council as provided for in Article 7 of the Council's Constitution: Mr. Ashman, Mr. Parton, Mr. Smith and Mrs. Wright.
Mrs. Taylor to second, please.
I'll second the motion, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. I invite Mr. Bray to speak.
Yes, Chairman, just I'm not making a fuss about this, but as it is a well-known position of our group that we don't support these posts, although we've got nothing personally against the people who are undertaking them. Thank you.
Hands. It's carried. C, to appoint members of the Scrutiny Commission, boards and committees, including the naming of spokesmen, spokespersons. Mr. Poland will move and Mr. Bray will second.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move that the membership of the Scrutiny Commission, boards and committees as set out in List 2 and the chairman-elect and spokespersons named in List 3 attached to the order paper be approved.
Thank you very much, Mr. Boland.
Formally second the motion, Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Bray. All in favour, raise their hands. Carried. Motion 2, Mr. Poland will move and Mr. Bray will second.
I move that the Chief Executive be authorised to make and terminate appointments to the Commission, committees, boards and other county council bodies, not including the Cabinet, in accordance with the wishes of the political groups to whom the seat in question has been allocated, subject, in the case of those bodies set out in List 2, to the group giving 1 day's notice to the Chief Executive of its wishes.
Formally second the motion, Chairman.
That's an enthusiastic hand wave, Max. Thank you very much. Unanimous. Is that last item? Yeah. I believe that's the last item on the agenda. I have to say, having had my first meeting here, sitting here, and having had 19 years sitting down there, it's quite a different perspective, I can tell you. Yeah, so thank you very much. Here endeth the meeting. Thank you.